Welcome everyone to the captive audience. Sorry, we've had some technical problems here tonight, and so we're starting a little bit late. It is the 31st of December. It is New Year's Eve, the last day of 2025, which has been a very noteworthy year. Don is rebooting his computer, and I'm very hopeful that that'll fix his sound problems and he'll join us. Otherwise, we're just going to do a speakerphone thing, and it'll sound like he'll sound different, but you'll be able to hear me, and I know you'll be able to hear him. We'll figure it out one way or the other. Sorry for the technical problems. However, um, I hope this is the end of problems that we'll leave in 2025 rather than the beginning of issues that are going to occur here in 2026. Um, this is the thing about getting to the end of the year and you turn the page is that you kind of leave those issues behind. Maybe it's a reboot, and that's what Don is doing with this computer right now. And these devices, technology, wow, isn't that really been one of the big stories of this year? We don't talk about it much on this show, but maybe we should, because I've been learning a lot about not just using AI, but actually, I think AI has a um, has a relevance to a number of different things that we talk about on this show all the time. And by that, what I mean is AI is starting to affect the economy. It is affecting how we conduct our daily lives. It's creating new problems. It's introducing new incredible efficiencies. I use it for improving the quality of writing after I write something and then I'm like, make this better. And you know what? I'll be darned, but it always does. Um, and I'm getting messages that there's a problem right now. Also, let me just check this with our, I'm going to see how I look on Facebook because I think there might be a Facebook issue too. And if there is, I might have to reboot, maybe, I don't know, and see what happens because it's really bizarre to have all these problems happen all at the same time. Um, but I'm checking this out. We're getting a message from one of our avid viewers that I am stuck in some sort of loop. Um, well, I'm looking here, and so far, so good. Let me just check here. Are you seeing me now? Question mark. Because I know that I can see reflected on Facebook on my end. Like I just touched my eyebrow, and there's going to be a few seconds here of a delay, probably. It looks like. Yes. There's a maybe 10 seconds or 15 seconds of delay on Facebook, which is a little bizarre. I have to admit, it doesn't happen that often. But if you can see and hear me, then it must be okay. And if you can't, then I got to reboot. But hey, what else is new? Technical problems. Don's having them, like his audio isn't working at all. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Sometimes. Like I'm going to go ahead and see what it looks like on YouTube. You know what? YouTube looks good, I think. I'm going to raise my hand and see how long it takes for my hand to show up on YouTube. Oh, good. I am so glad. Thank you for the confirmation, Monique. That's Monique Despain. She is the candidate in the 4th District running for Congress to unseat in a rematch Val Hoyle. Yeah, there's like maybe 20 seconds delay between what I'm saying and doing and what shows up on Facebook and YouTube, which could be anything, but at least it's rolling now. Let's hope and pray that Don's computer reboot works itself out here because I haven't done the show with Don in a long time. He does Wednesdays. Hi, Vicky. Um, he does Wednesdays with Leslie. Leslie's in California. Don is up in Washington State, and I'm here in Oregon, and so we're really the left coast covered. And then every once in a while, we have Sunny Danforth and even good old Jeff Reynolds, who are both in Florida now, joining us. So not tonight; they're in that different time zone. In fact, uh, they're they're much closer to the New Year than we are. But I will say that it's been. Let me just reflect on the year a little bit, because the year we've had has been a consequential one. I was thinking back to the end of the year show that we did last year, and it was President Trump had not been sworn in yet. We hadn't actually experienced the second Trump presidency yet, but we had experienced the election and everything that was happening as a result of that, and starting to anticipate what would happen. Um, I'll just share with you that my experience has been that President Trump really has acted like every single day. He was counting down how many days he's got left in his presidency and going at light speed, really, and amazingly, to keep up with all of the things that he said he was going to do. And you know what? He's been doing them all. In fact, he's probably gone well beyond what a lot of people thought was even possible within that time frame. So I'm pretty impressed. I'm wearing the Trump was right about everything hat tonight because, in all honesty, even when I thought maybe he was just exaggerating a bit or saying, setting a goal, having some wishful thinking about what he might be able to accomplish, he really does it. He does it, and then he finds more issues, and then he doubles down on it. He's put together, really, I think, in many respects, what you could call an all-star cabinet, but they have tough jobs, tough ones. Why? Well, it's tough running the United States anyway, no matter what, especially the federal government. But the mess left by the Biden administration, we thought we knew how bad it was when we voted the Biden administration and its possible successor, the Kamala Harris administration, right out of office. And we didn't even know the tip of the iceberg. I'll give you an example. Look at some of the corruption scandals that we've found in the abuse of money. I mean, we knew that there was money being wasted, and we knew that the Biden administration was throwing money at things, and sometimes with very few controls. But who would have thought that uh, a bunch of I'm not sure Americans, but Somalis in Minnesota would find a way to steal up to $9 billion and get away with it for years? I mean, that is, and by the way, it's happening in the home state of the vice presidential nominee for the Democrat Party in 2024. That's stunning. So I really think that we've seen this repeated over and over. Like, how much were they using the FBI and the DOJ weaponized to go after people? They we have uncovered things that we didn't know in the last year about that surpasses what we could have even believed or expected, certainly proven, if we wind the clock back a year. Let's add to that one. Let's talk about what we've discovered was going on with illegal immigration and crime. We knew it was bad. We knew a ton of people had come in. We knew there were hundreds of thousands of people with criminal records let into the country. But what about just how much the Democrat Party has seemed to be bought into the idea that they need to sacrifice themselves to protect illegal immigrants who shouldn't be able to vote for them? Now, I guess once the state voter rolls finally get cleansed and checked, which is going to happen, It has started to happen, and some states have cooperated, and others have decided that they're just going to fight against the president and try to win delays, which will only be delays in court. But good old Harmeet Dillon, there, the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, has been out there defending our civil rights. Namely, she has been out there pursuing these states and in a very professional way, negotiating with them and working out the process by which their voter rolls would be confirmed to be free of non-citizens who are not eligible to vote in federal elections. So we know that that's going to get addressed. But then why is it that Democrats have decided that they're going to do anything they can to provide cover for criminals who are in our country illegally? You know, I mean, why? And hi, Lori. Hi, Pam. Welcome to the show. You know, this is the thing is I end up with more questions than answers about what the Democrats are doing and why. I am concerned that to some extent they do have the upper hand when you go into a midterm election year. But then are they just overconfident? Is that why they've decided that what they're going to do is hand us all kinds of issues and victories here in the next year because they're totally, almost fanatically committed to protecting criminals that are in this country? And maybe they think they can issue enough. Yes, and the Antifa criminals are on the run now too. And there's been a cross-pollination between the anti-ICE movement and Antifa. There has been. And we've seen that happen across the country. But it hasn't stopped the president. The president's gone after him anyway. And Monique, you're right. It is going to be fun winning in 2026. And I hope the Democrats continue to help us with that because so far they have been. The other thing that they've got to be a little worried about, even though we're not out of the woods economically, we still have some of this inflation lingering, but it's come down a lot. And it takes a while for people to feel it because when you have prices go up by 40, 50, 60% on key items that you buy all the time, some of those items you can bring down quickly, like the cost of energy has come down dramatically. We've seen gas prices actually drop below $2 a gallon in some places in the country. And for Oregon, it's actually quite an achievement to be under $3 a gallon. No thanks to Tina Kotek and her crew, which are trying to raise taxes on gasoline to take what you're getting from President Trump and putting it in their pocket. But what else is new? We know this is actually true along the entire left coast. And by the way, they're not fixing the roads. They have been doing a terrible job of that. So they're saying they're not going to fix the roads. Well, yeah, already there. They've already been doing that. We've already got roads and road construction projects that are way behind, dramatically more expensive. President Trump's continued to press ahead with trying to make sure that the economy recovers and is strong. And that does take a while. It can take 6 to 12 months. It can take even 12 to 18 months for the interest rate cuts that have been done by the Fed to take effect. This is why I think that we're seeing a lot of the recovery is going to land right in the summer, where we're going to see a strong, robust economy. We're going to see the one big beautiful bill tax cuts and tax relief for small businesses, for businesses that want to invest and deduct the cost of that quickly. We're going to see it for people that are earning overtime, tips, which are not billionaires, Social Security recipients, also not billionaires. They're all going to be benefiting from this, and they're going to feel like they can start affording things because as inflation has come down and income is rising and tax burdens are being relieved, really the only negative trend that you're going to see here is you're going to see Democrats in blue states trying to reverse it, fight it, or steal it. And that's what we've been experiencing so far. Um, Reversing, fighting, stealing. It's been, yeah, Highway 6 has been a mess for decades. Highway 101 along the coast, Pam, is just ridiculous too. I mean, uh, and there's some weather conditions and tectonic conditions and so on that affect it along the coast. But let's just take the Rose Quarter or the I 5 bridge over the Columbia. Those projects are years behind. They've gotten dramatically more expensive. And unfortunately, uh, I think we're not going to see any of those improvements occur. But you know what happened? The tax increases that took place, the gas tax increases, all these fee increases that they've done, they've pocketed all that. Have they delivered on those projects? No. In fact, I think one of them is facing cancellation because they're so far behind and they simply can't deliver the state's part of the bargain anymore. And they're saying that's our fault. Except, wait a second. How's that our fault? They got the money, they didn't get the job done. They had all this time. You're welcome, Andrea. And so we've gotten used to the failure of the state government, unfortunately. It's almost like, yep, state government fails again. They lost $1 billion, or they underestimated their revenue or overestimated their revenue that they were going to have to do all this stuff by $1 billion. No one got fired. And so that's the contrast that we're going to see lining up here. And I think I talked to Jeff Eager last night, very good program last night. He's a great investigative journalist, really smart guy. And I think the question that emerged from our discussion is, are people in blue states where things are not as good as the rest of the country, where the policies are hurting their states, driving businesses out, making it more expensive, even just outright unaffordable, stymieing all economic growth, hitting people with more taxes, spending more money, are people in blue states going to be aware of just how bad they have it compared to people in the rest of the country who are not only benefiting from the federal economic programs and tax relief, but states that are actually taking advantage of that opportunity to do the right thing? I don't know. I think that's a big question. And that might be up to us to some extent because, it's the tree falling in the forest, right? I mean, how does somebody know in Eugene or Tigert or Bend that they're getting the short end of the stick from the policies that are going on? They probably know it's not going well. They know that companies are laying people off or leaving the state, that we're still seeing these enormous problems with homelessness and drug addiction, failures to deliver on state services that are basic and fundamental, like transportation, maintaining safe roads, and you name it, education near the bottom of the country still, drug treatment and recovery at the bottom, example after example, housing too expensive. The governor promised that she was going to make sure that we built 36,000 homes a year. She got to 11,000. It's as low as it was 10 years ago. It's actually the low watermark for the last 10 years. So everything that the Democrats are actually doing in the state of Oregon are heading in the wrong direction. People know it's not going well. So how will they know whose fault it is when Democrats are turning around and literally trying to blame President Trump for their failures in their state? I think that's why you keep doing the right thing, but we also have to say the right thing. We have to communicate. We have to share these stories. And by the way, you know who does know? I'll give you a clue. Two of our former co-hosts here for Captive Audience know that it's better in red states than in blue states because they left Oregon. They went to Florida. And I've heard nothing but good things from them. And they've come on the program and shared with us what it's like and how it's working out there. And then we've had so many people leave and move to other states: Idaho, Texas, um, uh, Florida. So how do we save Oregon? And I think part of the way we save Oregon here is we draw contrasts, we raise awareness about what's happening, and Democrats are going to try to blame shift. They've done that for a long time. We have to shift it back to them. I mean, Tina Kotek, the numbers don't lie. She's an utter failure, and she can't even govern effectively. And she's about to have, and this is the news from yesterday, I think some of you probably heard me mention it yesterday, is that the gas tax referral, which is also those fees for transportation, have successfully qualified for the ballot. They've been referred to the ballot, and we're all going to find out what the Democrats are going to do next. Last night, Jeff Eager and I were trying to theorize what the Democrats are going to do here. But meanwhile, President Trump is full court press ahead on the pressure that comes from the federal government to do the right thing with the money they do get. For instance, his executive order to defund Housing First, which is a failed program here in this state. It doesn't work to build very expensive, time-consuming process of dwellings that are overregulated and limited by the very state government that says they want to have a bunch of them. The federal money is not going to flow to that anymore. It's not going to flow to building those things, so you can hand them to a fentanyl addict who's just going to keep doing fentanyl. May not even care about the dwelling that you give to them. And then, what else? Well, we've seen how drug treatment recovery, getting people off the streets permanently, he has shifted away from the harm reduction model and said this money now has to go to getting people off the streets and off drugs. And by the way, you got to enforce public safety laws so that folks cannot bespoil every city and every park in the state. Well, that pressure is going to continue to be on the Democrats. They've had their DEI defunded from the federal level, and they've been canning people and canceling programs at the federal level that were shoveling money into all of the DEI stuff. They've tried to change the name of it, but here's a great example. The money that the transportation department says they need, in part, could be covered here. The Department of Transportation here in Oregon could be covered by canceling the $28 million they spend a year on the DEI department trying to get people who are out there waving traffic flags to learn the right pronouns. Yeah, it's all right in front of us. And their money is being drained. The nonprofits are being defunded. The ones that were out there paying people, frankly, to do stuff that wasn't delivering results, even for the people they said they were helping. The homeless, the drug addicted. But there's a lot of pretty well-to-do executive directors and staff because we learned this year that nearly 10% of Oregon's economy consists now of just nonprofits. It eclipsed the manufacturing sector. That, by the way, is going to do a lot more to pay the bills than handing money to nonprofits who are not going to be generating additional tax revenue and growth, economic growth for the state. They suck it up. They absorb it. And you're right. Actually, Kate Brown, we're actually looking back at Kate Brown with some exceptions, perhaps, of circumstances, but Kate Brown is almost the good old days. Tina Kotek used to be her wing girl running the State House as the speaker for 10 years. Then Tina Kotek, who you would expect to have an intimate understanding of the legislative process, moved to the governor's mansion and then showed that she actually didn't know how to run either the government and the state, or as governor to get results from the legislature that she used to be in and led for 10 years. So she's kind of like a triple failure. It's like, what do they call that when someone is can dance, sing, and act? They're a triple threat. She's a triple fail. And the only thing she hasn't failed at yet is getting elected. And that's what comes here in 2026. But she's not the only one that we have to put on the radar. You heard earlier from one of our audience members there, Monique Despain, and Monique is running against Val Hoyle, who is, let's put it this way, a complete and utter failure to deliver for the state. And she acts like she's in a district that is deep blue, like downtown Portland. She's not in that kind of a district, but she votes that way and she talks that way. And she's decided that instead of trying to deliver for the people of Oregon, for the 4th district, who, by the way, that's not the wealthiest district in the state, especially if you go out to the coast. Parts of the coast have been in a 30-year depression or economic downturn and are trying to bounce back and recover. But they've got the state government's boot squarely on their throat. And until President Trump came to office, they had the federal government running roughshod over them, telling them that they had to have a bunch of offshore wind farms that were going to bespoil the coastline and damage the fishing and recreation industries. But they can't have the things they need to start building housing along the coast. They have to jump through hoops. They have to spend zillions of dollars just getting any of these permits done, filling out paperwork, and that's like along the coast. So I think the reason why I cited Val Hoyle is she's saying and doing all the wrong things, unless she thinks that she's really in Portland. And if there's anything that is very clear for people at all corners of the state, they don't want their part of the state to become Portland. There are some tiny urban areas, not tiny, but urban areas that seem to envy Portland. But by and large, districts like the 4th district don't envy what has happened to Portland and what Portland has been doing to itself. And frankly, if you look at who's running the state government, the people at the very top of the state government, such as Tina Kotek, they're Portlanders. And so they're giving us more of what they've been giving us. Meanwhile, President Trump has shifted the entire situation for this district and for the state by starting to offer people the opportunity to harvest timber, for example, which, as we know, or as Val Hoyle likes to put it, when timber collapsed as if it was a natural disaster, we stopped getting that revenue. We stopped being able to fund public safety and education, literally like a 90% or 95% drop in revenues that were coming from harvesting our virtually endless supply of timber on federal land. And we have a window of opportunity to do this thanks to the changes that President Trump is making through executive orders, through the actions of, say, Doug Burgum, the Interior Secretary of Interior. But what is Val Hoyle doing? She's doing helicopter rides with people that actually want to lock up all of our forests so that firefighting equipment can't get through in roads to go fight fires and put them out before they turn into wildfires, and lock it all up in old growth designations so no one can touch it at all. So there are people who are low-hanging fruit, and we have to focus on races like that. It remains to be seen what's going to develop here in the 5th and the 6th district. There are some candidates that have declared. Patty Adair is one of them who has declared in the 5th district to run against Janelle Bynum. Right now, I think there's one candidate who I can't recall his name. I think he's run before, who is going to take on Andrea Salinas. But we have to have our head in the game on these federal seats, because as much as we've seen a lot of success till now, 2026 is about making sure that success becomes permanent or more permanent. That the things that President Trump has done said he would do, did at lightning speed, moved heaven and earth to achieve, and has restored the functional integrity of the federal government and repositioned it as a beneficial influence to the economy and to our lives and to our public safety and to and introduce accountability for how money is being spent and that it's being spent on the right things, and defunding the wrong things and defunding the things people don't want the federal government to do. If you want those things to become permanent, then you have to do everything you can to make sure that you help the candidates running for Congress here in Oregon get over the finish line, because we only have, I think, a 3-seat margin in the House of Representatives, and that's razor thin. We have to fight on every front. And so hats off to Monique Despain for running. By the way, I know she would insist I tell you that her website is moniqueforcongress.com. That's Monique, F-O-R, Congress.com. And yes, you could still donate in this quarter, Q4, in calendar year 2025. If you hop on our website right now, you can do that before midnight. So, and if you have to drop off the show to go donate, I'll understand. But I'm going to put it in the messaging here too. And the reason why this is so important is because the one way that they take you seriously out here in Blue Oregon is if you have donations, if you have the ability to get your message out. Because we've got all the facts we need out there about Democrats. They hand them new ones to us every day. And let me give you an example with Val Hoyle. Here's a great example. So Val Hoyle was found in a state audit by the Secretary of State of Oregon to be the main reason why the Bureau of Labor and Industry is in a crisis now. They can't handle all the employee complaint cases that they receive, which is their job. And the audit said it all traces back to the failed leadership of Val Hoyle while she was there. And of course, we know that what she was busy with was doing favors for that marijuana company, Lamoda, and she couldn't give a hoot about racial discrimination in the department in the Bureau of Labor and Industry that's supposed to fight racial discrimination in the workplace, and she did nothing about it. In fact, it was such a huge incompetent failure that the Bureau of Labor and Industry got sued. They got sued by the people in that department, and they lost. They had to settle for a huge settlement for these people. They cost you and I, the taxpayers, millions of dollars. And it all was awarded to those people after Val Hoyle had left this mess behind and moved on to Congress, where she's making a new mess. So I think this is what I want to put on your radar is what are the opportunities? What are the stories from 2025 that we can tell that help people understand in 2026 what they need to do if they want to see this place turn around? Obviously, sending Tina Kotek packing, but also making sure we hold on to the House of Representatives. We help, excellent candidates like the retired Air Force Colonel Monique Despain, the others that are going to run for these other positions, and send those Democrats packing. I don't listen to any of the Democrats' lectures about gerrymandering. You know why? Because it's the dumbest thing ever to think that people who did nothing but gerrymander this state are going to lecture us about what gerrymandering shouldn't be somewhere else. I've even heard, Val Hoyle at a town hall, complain about the gerrymandering in Texas. And I'm like, well, look at your district. That was gerrymandered. You cut out parts that were in it that had too many conservatives, and you added parts that had more liberals. But look, we're going to beat them anyway. That's what we're going to do. But we got to have the resources and the focus, and we have to communicate out to the voters. And we, most of all, have to make sure that Republicans don't roll over and go back to sleep, because if we go and sleep through the next election, we're going to wake up to a nightmare. We've seen this nightmare before. It was 2019 and Speaker Nancy Pelosi and impeachment and all of this stuff that they did, which hobbled our country and damaged it. And then they just continued doing that all the way through 2020 with their fake Russia collusion story and their investigations there. And in all honesty, we got to be bold. And we got to encourage folks that are in Congress, by the way, to be bold. You know, Cliff Bentz is the lone Republican representing Oregon in the federal delegation. You need to encourage him to continue to move ahead and be tough and fight in DC, and then fight for the attention and resources needed out here in Oregon. Hold Democrats accountable here, and everything gets better, not only in Oregon, but across the country. So I want to just mention that to you because now you said who ran away with another county, Clackamas. I'm not sure what you're referring there, Lori. Yeah, and you're right, Pam. Complaining is not voting, but voting can be a very legitimate way to lodge your complaint or to register your outrage. And this is something that we have to let people know. It's like you don't have to put up with this anymore, and that's why I think the gas tax referral is excellent news. The fact that it has qualified is super duper important because that's the affordability backlash. That's what they call steel on target. Marine colonel friend of mine likes to say that. It's like you're right on target with that. The people who are causing the affordability crisis, they are the ones who are being held accountable for making our state less affordable, and we're thwarting their plans to make it even worse. And you know what? The stuff that they've done to raise taxes, it's really totally focused right now on the working class. The working class are the ones who can't shrug their shoulders and say, no biggie, I can live through or put up with all of the increases in gas taxes. They're the ones who like, I was having a hard time making ends meet. I'm working, but now you just gave me another $500 a year that I got to pay, or $1,000 a year I got to pay for gasoline just to get to work or to go pick up the kids or do any of the things. And then, of course, we know that energy and fuel are components of everything else we buy. It costs something to deliver those packages, to have those things delivered to your door, to show up in the store. And then, of course, the ODOT bill. So there was one person that was a Republican that voted for the ODOT bill, and he switched to become a Democrat, and now apparently he really hates having money donated by Phil Knight to Republicans. Nike's Phil Knight. He really hates it, even though he was the beneficiary of that same money when he ran and got elected last time. But apparently he didn't tell us the truth. So we need to ask and insist that we learn from our representatives where they really stand on the issues, and the frankness of how we approach this. Like, do no harm to Republicans, but do hold them accountable and ask them questions, because we can't have any more Cyrus Javadis, and that's who that was. And it's really kind of disgusting what he did, but I'll be honest. I think that when people do that, that should create the very backlash that's necessary to fix it. He can't get away with it. And the way we make sure he doesn't get away with it is make sure that he loses here in 2026. So I've just given you an example of federal versus state, right? What President Trump's doing, what Tina Kotek is doing or not doing, and the contrast. We've got what's happening in key races like in the 4th District, such as Monique Despain taking on Val Hoyle. It's time for that district to flip. And then we've got the other districts that are, the candidates are starting to emerge. They're starting to raise money, and we'll see where that goes. But we need to get behind the opportunities we have. And then we've got the state legislative opportunities. There, we want to send a message that you can't lie to voters. You can't flip on the voters or flip them off in this case too. You actually have to tell the truth. And when you don't, we're going to send you packing at the ballot box and replace you with someone who will. Yeah, I think you're right. Tillamook is very unhappy with what happened, and they have to assert themselves, because one of the biggest problems they're going to have is people moaning and complaining that their vote is worthless. And too many Republicans say that to me, and I'm like, let me give you, and I just start listing off races that were decided by hundreds or even tens of votes that made all the difference. And when I do that, they're like, oh, yeah, I guess it's true. It does make a difference. Well, do you expect to get more of what you want to see happen by doing less or nothing about it? I mean, in what facet of life does that happen? And then I like what Greg Gutfeld says sometimes about Trump. We don't deserve him. Because what are we going to do to deserve having somebody who runs on something, fixes all these problems, does what they say, turns the country around, gets the criminals out of the country, cuts taxes, boosts the economy, frankly goes around and starts winding up all these wars that started on Joe Biden's watch around the world. And then what are we going to do to make sure that we are there for him? And frankly, for the country. He's only going to be in office for 4 years. He's counting down the days, so he's going at light speed. But do we want to have the next president auto pen reverse all that stuff? I don't think so. I think we're going to have to fight. And we're going to have to tell other people, you need to fight too. If you are complacent, then there's going to be consequences for complacency. And it's going to look a lot like losing. So overcome your complacency. Definitely overcome your apathy. If you think it doesn't matter whether you vote or not, the answer to fixing whatever you know and have seen is wrong with the voting system isn't by not voting. That's like that. Well, I won't go. There's an example from a movie called Life of Brian, where there's the crack suicide squadron that comes in to save Brian while he's being crucified, and they say, we're here to save you. And he goes, oh, great. And then they say, we're the Judean People's Front crack suicide squadron. And then they all commit suicide, in honor of his sacrifice. And I'm just like, wait a second here. How about if you just save them, instead of doing yourself in? Well, this is what we have to do, is get people to wake up and participate. The gas tax referendum was a fabulous example of how this looks like it was happening. And I am hopeful that was the beginning of people waking up and realize that they do have the power to take action. But the nefarious plans of the Democrats aren't going to end just because we tried and won one victory or created a big setback or thwarted the plans the Democrats have. They've got plans too. And they're going to do them. And they think they're right, by the way. I don't think that they might have miscalculated, but they don't think that they're fundamentally wrong on policy. So the only way they're going to get that message is by being deprived of the power that they used to create that situation. And this is what I'm very hopeful the gas tax referendum is doing. And hats off to Ed Deal. He's a regular guest of ours on the show and a fabulous guy. And I think he has something to say about this next year, too. We have to tell the stories about the corruption. I shared last night what happened with the Uplifting Journey scam that was going on in Lake Oswego that was only discovered because it was located at the home of a Tren Aragua gang member who got caught committing attempted murder and kidnapping up in the state of Washington. Well, as Jeff Eager pointed out, that's the tip of the iceberg. But we have to tell these stories. We have to get out there and share with people. There's the crime ring, Colombian crime ring that was attacking Asian American business owners' homes while they were at work. And Oregon's laws tried to let these people go and release them on greatly reduced bail. This happens every day with all kinds of other crimes. And then the Democrats pissed and moaned that ICE showed up and arrested them as soon as they left the Lane County jail. You know what? We do have a way to do this, and it's by getting active and staying engaged. Share this show with people. There's a golden opportunity, and when you look at, we are the grand opportunity party, and when you look at things that way, you begin to realize here's the 18 things I could do, or the many things that we can say. It does mean sometimes that you're going to have to tell somebody some information that they maybe don't want to hear, but they need to hear it, because then when they try to connect the dots later as to why things are screwed up, what are they going to do? They're going to remember what you told them, or they're going to remember that they saw this show and they read the story themselves. So we have to be steadfast warriors for the truth. We have to insist on accountability, on justice, and then we have to make sure that we're doing our part, the utmost, to enlist people in this effort. Young people woke up because of what happened to Charlie Kirk. We all have to wake up. They tried to kill freedom of speech that day. And just when we thought the world was saved, we learned that there's much more to go, and there's people who are really prepared maybe to do some of the worst things to people, assassinate them in order to thwart our plans for a free, peaceful, prosperous country, state, district, city. And I think that this is what the great news is from 2025. There's all kinds of sparkly lights and distractions that can happen, but if we keep focused on where we're heading, I actually really believe that's going to deliver the results. And Pam, I thank you for voting in that school board race. That's exactly what you should have done. And then if you don't have the information you need, start asking people to deliver that to you. Go seek it out, find it, share it with others. We do talk about school board races on this show sometimes, and we can also feature it. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming up here next year where you're going to need information. And that's right. People are getting information from lame sources that, frankly, the story that I just told you about with Uplifting Journey, it could be as big as a $60 million fraud when you connect in the Arizona part of it, where a Democrat attorney general there is prosecuting people, but our attorney general has nothing to say about it. He's silent. He's absolutely said nothing about this scandal here in Oregon. And they all know that it advances a narrative that is starting to emerge because of what's happening with the Somali scandal in Minnesota. And they don't want people to start thinking there's any truth to what President Trump's telling them. But just remember, he's been right about all this stuff. And if you place your bets on the right things, it's going to pay off. Monique just shared with us on the feed here. Vote and contribute a few dollars to your favorite candidates. Encourage your sphere of influence to participate. Wake up, vote. And speak to others about these things. Some people, it's just too much work. Even though they might have the right principles in mind, and they wish they could do something and don't know what to do, you can tell them what to do, and you can tell them why. Because you watch this show and you know people who they can listen to, and make it easy for them. Give them an easy button. They talk to you. Follow the candidates, see what they say and do. And yes, maybe ratchet down some of the lamestream media sources and go after those sources, the citizen journalists, the Kevin Dahlgrens that are out there. Try to think of a few of the other folks here in Oregon that have been doing the great work of exposing what Antifa is doing. The Post Millennial is another one. Just the News at the national level is fantastic. OregonWatchdog.com, OregonCatalyst.com. You can really find the information. It's there, and you can share it with folks. Monique did point out, by the way, that Oregon law did let those people go. They were going to flee the jurisdiction. The whole purpose of bail of that Colombian illegal alien crime ring. Uh, the whole purpose of bail is to prevent people who are flight risks from leaving. Like, you're not supposed to grant them bail if they're just going to get charged and then disappear. Well, who is more likely to disappear than somebody who is present in the country illegally and was operating across state lines and was disappearing after each crime to another Airbnb somewhere in Oregon or another state? Yeah, that's the definition of a flight risk. So we've got a lot to fix, and we've got a country to save. I'm sorry that Don had these really bad technical problems with sound, and I was hoping he would try to reconnect, but I guess he wasn't able to. And we're at about the 45-minute mark for the show. It's New Year's Eve, and I know a lot of folks want to get on to enjoying and doing things for their evening, but I'm here for you. And I just also want to say, not only do we miss Jeff Reynolds and Sonny Danforth here, although we're jealous of them being off in Florida now, but I do want to remember again our good friend David Darnell, who helped found the Captive Audience and was a warrior for freedom, for accountability. I first met him way back in the Tea Party days, and he got involved, got into leadership. He made a difference. And part of the way he made a difference is he took some of us who didn't even think of doing this Captive Audience idea and said, let's just do it. What are they going to do? Now eventually the social media people did try to shadow ban us and block us and limit us, but we just kept plugging away. And that's what we all have to do. And I've heard some people say that the easy solution is just to run away from Oregon. I guarantee you that one thing that's going to happen is that if they gain a foothold in a place like Oregon and start projecting their ideas across the country, pretty soon the place that you find yourself in is going to have some Tampon Tim idiot running it. It's going to have Senator AOC elected in it. It's going to have their version of Tina Kotex raising your taxes. And it's going to have some moron, like some of the people who have running cities and counties here in Oregon. They're going to be running those places because they follow you. They metastasize. They look for people who just aren't fighting back. And we must always fight back. We must be relentless. We must be like what President Trump was when he had, people hauling him in front of judges, filing bogus charges against him, and trying to block him on social media so he couldn't communicate with anybody. And he said, "The hell with it. You're not stopping me. I'm doing it." And look what that got us. That example is the one we have to look at here and now. It is the golden opportunity right in front of us. Anyway, and then let's also remember that it's important to be like Charlie Kirk, who was a happy warrior that kept fighting. And unfortunately paid the ultimate price for standing on his principle and doing what he did so well. We have to make sure that there's millions of Charlie Kirks to fill the void. And all of you, I know this. I know I'm preaching to the choir here tonight, but I sure am glad that you're listening and sharing this information with everyone you can. Again, do share this show. It's on Facebook. It's on X. It's on YouTube. You can take the YouTube link. You can literally share it anywhere with anyone, whether they're on social media or not. You can email it to them, and make sure you get the word out. But then also take a little time tonight, find the candidate you want to support, and donate to them. Just do it tonight. I don't care how much it is. Do it. And you will find that you were just another drop in what is going to be a gusher waterfall that by next year needs to be in Niagara Falls so that we can prevail. All right. So, anyway, thank you. God bless you all. Happy New Year. Happy 2026. And I'll see you guys on the other side.